YouTube, and welcome back to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. In this video, we are going through every single game on the Colts 2022 schedule. We're going to be predicting the 2022 season for the Indianapolis Colts. So if you enjoy Colts content, NFL content in general, make sure you like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on to miss any future videos, and sit back, relax. This is probably going to be a decently long video, because we're going to go through every game, talk about every game. So, grab a snack, grab a drink, and sit back, relax, and enjoy this one. So, week 1, Houston Texans. We open in Houston, and it's going to be weird not having TY week 1, right? So you go through, you look at this Houston's and the Colts, the matchup in week 1. History says the Colts will lose this game. This year, JDW says that changes. The Indianapolis Colts are going to have a quarterback that's more ready. That's going to get this team ready. This team's going to be ready, and Matt Ryan's going to make sure of it. Matt Ryan's going to make sure that these guys are not slouching, that they're not going to, just put in 20% in week 1. Not saying that they would, but he's going to push them. Carson Wentz didn't do such. Carson Wentz didn't push these guys. Even when it was a home stretch the last 2 games, his team thought they had it. And it all starts with the leader. And when it comes to that, the leader is a big factor in the mental game in that part of the game, in that part of the season especially. So I think the Colts are going to do enough to get their first win in week 1 since 2013 against the Raiders or something like that. So they're going to get the first win in week 1 in quite some time and get off to a good start. 1-0, it's going to be so nice. It's going to be so nice because, Jonathan Taylor's going to be able to run on them. Michael Pittman's going to be fine. Matt Ryan's going to throw the ball fine. Even though it's going to be first real live action with the new receivers, going to have a whole training camp as long as no one gets hurt. Going to have training camp, going to have preseason. I'm fully confident in Matt Ryan's ability to get ready and get the rest of his team ready. I think the defense is going to come out firing quick. I think the defensive line is going to come out firing quick. You have Kwity Paye, Buckner, Stewart. Tyquan Lewis is going to be coming back from an injury. May not be back right away, but he might be. Very slight chance. But I think the Colts absolutely blow the doors off in week 1. I like the Texans. I like Davis Mills. But I think in the first week here, the Colts defense is going to overwhelm them. Stephon Gilmore's there. You got Leonard. You got Julian Blackman's supposed to be back. He's going to be back week 1. He should. He's supposed to be back training in training camp. Maybe mid-training camp. Maybe. But yeah, man. This defense is going to overpower Davis Mills and that offensive line. This defensive line is finally going to get some pressure. And we're going to have a good game against the Houston Texans. And we're going to win week 1. And then another game, week 2. It's another game where, the Colts, the past says the Colts are going to start 0-2. The Colts flip that narrative completely and start 2-0. They win week 1, and they win on the road in Jacksonville. They're not going to be happy with what happened last year. Matt Ryan isn't going to let these guys sit down and ponder and think about this one too much. He is going to get them fired up, and this team is going to be pissed off. This team is going to take out all their anger. This team is going to be so technically sound this year. That's one of the reasons why I think they're going to blow the door off in week 1. When you're technically sound, doesn't matter what week it is. Because when you're technical, it's a lot easier to win any game, no matter when it is. So I believe we beat Jacksonville. And I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a decent game. It doesn't matter how mad the Colts are going to be. Trevor Lawrence is still going to have a pretty damn good game. This Jaguars offense is still going to put up points. The defense, though, I don't see the defense being able to hold this Colts offense back too much. The run defense isn't the greatest. It's okay. Their pass defense, really not the best. Their defense in general just isn't a good defense. I'd say it's maybe you could throw it in the top 18. I don't think they're worse than 20, but I don't think they're top 15. But I think they're top 20. But I think this Colts offense, having a whole nother week under the belt, having a whole week, having a game of live action, it's going to work to their advantage once again. They're going to be hungry. As we saw last year with the Buffalo Bills, the Indianapolis Colts were sent home packing with Phillip Rivers that year. Came back the next year, came back mad, and blew the doors off of them. They blew them out. So I have the Colts completely flipping the narrative. This is a completely different team than it was a year ago and the past 10 years. This is a completely different team. It's a well-balanced roster. So pass rush is going to help big time in these two games. Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be able to dot us up like he did last year at the end of the year. Not going to happen again. Colts are starting 2-0. Colts are going to start 2-0. They're going to win in week 1, and they're going to win on the road in Jacksonville. They have two monkeys to get off their back quickly. And that's a good thing because it doesn't have to linger. But say the Colts lose one of these games, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's not going to be bad. It's a divisional loss, so it would suck if they do end up losing in Jacksonville or if they do lose at home. But they cannot afford to lose both. You lose both, you start 0-2 in the conference, 0-2 in the division, and an 0-2 overall record. That's a pretty shitty start to the season. You already dug yourself in a big-time hole. Because then you go on week 3, and you play one of the most electrifying, if not the most electrifying offense. Gosh damn. You're playing one of the best offenses that this league has ever seen. With Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, now they have Juju Smith-Schuster. They have quite a few guys. It's not just going to be focused on Tyreek Hill, even though it wasn't before because you had Travis and some other players. And Tyreek Hill. But now that there's more than one wide receiver that can get the job done as number 1, or a low-end number 1 at the very least, it's going to be tough to stop these guys. They're not great at running the ball. So the Colts pass rush can maybe tee off on that offensive line that is still trying to figure it out. The Chiefs defense may not be together yet either. They may still be trying to figure it out. The Colts defense is basically the same. And something is worth mentioning here. Patrick Mahomes never had an above average or great game against the Colts. I mean, granted, he only played them twice. Both times, the Colts kind of kept them in check. When they had Jacoby Brissett in the playoff game. Didn't have two of his best games versus the Colts. But now it's a different scheme as well. He torched Gus Bradley over with the Raiders. So the 2-deep system was perfect for playing Patrick Mahomes. They had a dink and dunk, and they didn't like that. They had a hard time keeping the drive going. So now they got players to keep the drive going. Now they got players to do that. So, but now Gus Bradley is there. Hopefully Gus Bradley can get it figured out because Patrick Mahomes is going to absolutely torch him if not. So if you start 0-2, I have this one marked down as a loss as well. I have the Colts starting 2-1, but if they lose the first two and then they lose to the Chiefs, 0-3 conference record. It's going to be another season like we had last year, like we had the past 5 years. Sick and tired of the slow starts. We cannot have that. We need to start strong so we don't have to dig ourselves out of a hole. So we don't have to play a playoff game basically every single week. You can't do that. It's tiring. It's a lot of pressure. Now these players are supposed to play well under pressure, but when you have to do it every single week or you're eliminated, it's exhausting. It's even more exhausting. When you have to dig your way out of a hole. It's exhausting digging the hole and then climbing yourself out, and then by the time you get to the playoffs or the end of the season, you're dead. So start strong, guys. Start 2-0. And then it's fair to go and take a loss to one of the most dynamic teams in the entire NFL, offensively anyways. But if you start 0-2 against the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars, no knock on them, but I mean the Colts are more than capable of taking care of these two teams. They need to show that they can do it. And then you have week 4, another divisional game. As you're going to notice in the beginning of the year, the first half, the Colts have a lot of divisional games. You have week 1, week 2, week 4, week 6, week 7. You play all your divisional games except for one in the first half of the season. So you gotta start strong. You gotta play this whole season strong. If you don't, you're probably not gonna make the playoffs. It's a tough schedule as it is. Very tough. Almost every week you're playing a very good offense, a very good team. And the Tennessee Titans are no joke. They're no joke. Now, their wide receiver room sucks, but you kind of say the same for the Colts after Michael Pittman Jr. or unproven. But they have Derrick Henry. They're never out of it until the game's over, until our clock hits triple zeros. So the Colts got to come out strong in that one. They're going to have the corners to take care of them. They're going to have the pass rush for the Titans O-line that isn't the great. So if the Colts can limit Derrick Henry, very difficult to do. But with the better defensive line, do have Unique Ngakoue, not a great run stopper, but you have very good defensive line, very good run stopping defense. If you could limit his running ability, then you could definitely beat them if you have to make Ryan Tannehill throw, because Ryan Tannehill is not going to be able to throw consistently on this defense. He is going to struggle throwing against this defense. So I say the Colts take the W here at home versus the Tennessee Titans. So I'm going to take the Colts here, starting 3-1, very solid, beating Houston, beating Jacksonville, losing to KC, and beating Tennessee. That's the first quarter of the season for your Indianapolis Colts. In week 5, you have the Denver Broncos. This is going to be a tough game. It is a primetime game, too, which is going to be even more fun. Love primetime games. They just get the blood pumping a little extra. They're just a little extra, so... Really excited for the primetime games. I can't wait. I can't wait for the season in general. But, on primetime, playing Russell Wilson at home, even though it's not the stadium he used to play at. I forgot the name of the stadium of the Seahawks. I'm just completely blanked. But at home, primetime, Russ, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Javonte Adams, and the defense is pretty good as well. I'm going to have the Colts taking another loss here. I think that Denver Broncos defense is going to overwhelm the Colts offense a little bit. I think this is going to be one of those games where they struggle, where they, try to figure it out. And it's going to be one of those games where this offense struggles, but it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a good learning curve. So I'm going to have them take a loss here in primetime against Denver. And then you have week 6. You're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. I'm having the Indianapolis Colts sweeping the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to be mad, man. They're going to be pumped up to play these games. They need to come out and they need to play strong against the Jaguars. They need to show them that they're, the better team. And they are more than capable of sweeping the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I'm not saying the Jaguars are a bad team by any means. The Jaguars are a very good team. They're going to be very good. Maybe not very good in the terms of competing for the playoffs. No. I mean very good in keeping games competitive with very good teams. Trevor Lawrence is going to make that jump. He's got more weapons. Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and he's going to have his Travis Etienne coming back healthy. James Robinson is going to be back fully healthy. The offensive line has gotten a little better. Defense has had some upgrades, but I don't see the Indianapolis Colts being beat by the Jacksonville Jaguars once this year. I could see them losing in Jacksonville. I could see that. But we're not going to lose to them at home. We are not going to lose to them at home. But I say we sweep them. We're the superior team, and we're going to show it this year against Jacksonville. We're not playing no games with Jacksonville this year. We are coming for you. And then you play the Tennessee Titans in Nashville, in Tennessee. I'm going to have the Indianapolis Colts losing this one. I think Derrick Henry is going to have a little bit of juice from the loss in week 4 that they took. Derrick Henry is going to find a way to run for big yards or run for big gains, and I think Ryan Tannehill is going to do just enough, and I think the Tennessee Titans squeak it out over the Indianapolis Colts in this one. And then you have week 8, the Washington Commanders, the rematch, Carson Wentz versus the Colts and Frank Reich. It's going to be a fun game. And if you consider this a primetime game, it is a 4:25. I think 4:25 is usually nationally televised. So if you want to consider that a primetime game, you could. If not, whatever. But you look at Washington, and you look at their offensive weapons. They have some pretty damn good weapons. They're dynamic offensively. They have Gibson and a running back who is very good. Very good. He's kind of like a poor man's version of Jonathan Taylor. Love Gibson, though. There is no knock on him. Gibson is extremely dynamic. Then you look at the wide receivers. You have Curtis Samuel. You have Terry McLaurin. You have Diami Brown. This offense is dynamic. The offensive line isn't the greatest. And with Carson Wentz, he likes to run around, and the offensive linemen don't know where he's going. It's gonna make the offensive lineman jobs a lot more difficult. Same time, he's gonna be able to evade some of it. Maybe we'll see if he stays healthy. We'll see if he's even healthy for this game. So I want to take the Indianapolis Colts, though. I think the Colts are going to be able to beat the Washington football team. I think that defensive line is going to get to Carson Wentz, and I think we're going to see why we gave rid of Carson Wentz. Yeah, I think he's going to make some pretty big mistakes in this one. I could see Darius Leonard coming in the backfield and making him fumble. I could see Stephon Gilmore, Kenny Moore picking him off. 2 interceptions, yes. So I think this is going to be a pretty good game against the Commanders for us. I don't see us losing to the Commanders at home. Their defense is very good. Their defensive line is very good. So this game is probably going to be won in the passing game. It's probably going to might be a low-scoring game. I could see it being a low-scoring game. But I think the Colts do just enough to come out on top. This is when a guy like Matt Ryan... These are the games that are going to show you why Chris Ballard went out and got Matt Ryan. That's what I was looking for. Because Matt Ryan could win a game when you put it on his shoulder. Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz couldn't do that. Phillip Rivers couldn't do that in the time of his career and all that. Carson Wentz just made too many stupid boneheaded mistakes. Matt Ryan is not going to do that. Matt Ryan is going to make solid decisions. He's going to be very good, make some big-time plays, and he's smart. He's got the zip. His arm isn't as great as it once was, but he's 37. What do you expect? But he's very smart. That veteran, that savvy vet play is what is going to help the Colts here in this one. Then we go and we play the New England Patriots over in New England. Not home this time. We're not home this time against New England. It's going to be loud. We're going to have a quarterback that's going to be a lot better. We're going to see if New England's going to be able to limit Jonathan Taylor this time. JT ran all over them. JT put the nail in the coffin last time. So I think this is a game that could really go either way. I could see the Colts losing this one. I could see them winning it. It's a very difficult game to predict. Mac Jones I don't see him getting much better than last year, if you ask me. When he was coming out, we said what he is going to be in his rookie year is what he is probably going to be throughout his career. And I don't see him getting much better. I could see him maybe get marginally better, but not to a point where you're like, wow, he could do this on his own. He doesn't need the receivers. Like Tom Brady didn't need them. No, Mac Jones is going to need receivers. Tom Brady doesn't need receivers. Mac Jones does. Yeah, he's very smart. Anticipation is great, but his arm strength lacks. But we did see some pictures and videos of him being jacked. He slimmed down. He got in shape. So we'll see how that affects that. But the New England Patriots aren't going to be able to run on the Colts very well. I think the cornerbacks are going to be able to hold down the New England Patriots wide receivers just fine. I don't see the Colts having an issue with this Patriots team. I know I said it's probably going to be a very close game, and it probably will be. But I don't see the Colts losing this game to New England. Unless it's a game where Frank Reich just continues, just does something stupid. I could absolutely see him doing that with this game, doing weird stuff. But I don't. I think Frank Reich is going to be fine this year. Now that he's got a quarterback that he can trust, I think he could do whatever he wants to do. Of course, the situation and stuff weighs into that decision, but telling you, man, I am telling you, I think the Colts are going to beat the New England Patriots 2 years in a row. Now, remember that the New England Patriots they did make a lot of weird mistakes last year. Usually very technical. They made a lot of mistakes versus the Colts, which is very unlike them. But Carson Wentz let them in the game. Let them back in the game as well, too. And he missed a lot of throws. Big time throw in the beginning, and a big time miss that he had. Michael Pittman Jr. was open in the sideline, and he just missed them. Can't miss those. Matt Ryan's not going to miss those. Matt Ryan's going to make much more intelligent throws. He's going to be more accurate with the ball. And that's what's going to put us over the top and help us blow past the New England Patriots. Not blow past them like absolutely dominate them. I don't see that, no. I just see us having a good game, beating the Patriots, and having a good first half of the season. You have 1-0. You're winning week 1, winning week 2. You're going to lose to the Chiefs, beat the Titans, lose to the Broncos, beat the Jags, lose to the Titans in Tennessee, beat the Commanders, and beat New England in New England. So the second half of the schedule here, it's interesting. There are times where it's really tough. It's mainly tough until week 17. This schedule is really tough from week 9 to week 16. The schedule is brutal. It is very tough. I would maybe put Washington in there. I think they're going to be solid. Okay, I don't think they're going to be on the Patriots, Raiders, or Eagles level. Maybe the Chargers. I don't see that either. But we have the Las Vegas Raiders and the Indianapolis Colts. We know last year the Raiders just found a way to beat the Colts and found a way to keep them out of the playoffs, which ultimately in the future helped make them make it, because since the Jaguars beat the Colts, it propelled the Colts up in, and then the Raiders just found a way. The Raiders beat the Chargers and stuff. So the Raiders and the Colts, man, this is always a treat. It's always a good matchup. It's always a fun matchup. A lot of offense in these ones usually. You have Derek Carr, you have Adams, you have Waller, you have Jacobs if he's healthy. The offensive line is iffy. Defense is iffy. And their run defense is what the issue is. And when you play the Colts, I think this offensive line is going to be just fine. Jonathan Taylor is going to run all over the Raiders. Jonathan Taylor is not going to have an issue. He's going to be mad with the Raiders too for beating them. I see Alec Pierce having a good game here. Oh, that's something I want to mention with New England. Because you know how Bill Belichick always takes away the number one guy. That's the game Alec Pierce is going to come out. That's the game that Alec Pierce is going to have to step up, and we're going to see if he could or not. All right, back to the Raiders one. But, yeah, man, I think Jonathan Taylor's going to... I think this is going to be a game where Jonathan Taylor has an insane game. I think this is going to be one of those games, and that is why I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts in Las Vegas over the Raiders. Jonathan Taylor, very talented, we all know. Raiders' run defense isn't the greatest, so that is why I am taking the Indianapolis Colts. And then once you get that run game going, you are going to have a terrible time trying to stop Matt Ryan. It's going to be really difficult. Matt Ryan's smart, the anticipation, the reading of the defense, the accuracy. You can't afford to mess up with Matt Ryan. He will make you pay. Like Carson Wentz didn't do that, though. Matt Ryan will make you pay. So, I'm going to take the Colts here. As I already mentioned, I'm taking the Colts versus the Raiders. Then you have the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Frank Reich, Philly, Nick Sirianni. I think this is one of the toughest games of the year. I think Philadelphia is going to be pretty good. Their defense is solid. Offensive line is solid. Running backs, solid. Wide receivers, very good. Biggest question, even the tight ends are very good. You have Dallas Goedert, very good tight ends, very dynamic. The biggest question is Jalen Hurts. And I think Jalen Hurts in this Eagles offense is going to stress out this Colts team, this Colts defense. I think A.J. Brown's might have a game. Devontae Smith might have a game. Devontae Smith might eat Isaiah Rodgers alive, but Isaiah Rodgers, we'll see what he shows in his second year of being a full-time cornerback. They just have a lot of weapons. And Jalen Hurts on top of that is a very good running quarterback. If Darius Leonard could limit him, Darius Leonard will spy on him. And he will spy him the entire game. So if the Colts could limit his running, I think the Colts win. But I think this is going to be one of those games where the Colts struggle. They have some hiccups, some technical things. Frank Reich calls weird stuff. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the Indianapolis Colts in Lucas Oil. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be a fun game to watch. Nick Sirianni, Frank, all that crazy stuff. But I'm going to see. But I think this Colts offense might struggle a little bit against Philly too. They have a good pass rush. They have good corners. Safeties are solid. Linebackers are iffy. They are definitely iffy. But I think the Eagles are going to overcome that and beat the Indianapolis Colts. And you have Week 12. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers. We always struggle against the Steelers. It doesn't matter what week it is. It doesn't matter how good we are. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. We always find a way to lose to these guys. Last year, not last year, with Phillip Rivers, we were up like 2 or 3 possessions. And we found a way to lose to them. And there was another time where we held Antonio Brown in check. I think it was the Jacoby Brissett year. It might have been Scott Tolzien. I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. Every time we play them, some crazy stuff happens, and we always find a way to lose. But this is when we change the narrative. Once again, we have a lot of narratives to flip this year. I think we're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers for the first time since 2009. We better. They're going to have Kenny Pickett or Mitch. We don't know who. The running game, going to be very good, but the Colts can limit that. Defense of the Steelers, as we know, is always insane. The pass rush is always wild. You got T.J. Watt. Then you have Bush. And the corners are decent, not the greatest. But if our offensive line can hold up, I think Matt Ryan's going to be smart enough to get the ball out quick. He's accurate enough. He could run a little bit, but not much. He's not completely stationary. He's not like Phillip Rivers. He can move a little bit. Not like Aaron Rodgers, not like that fast, but, he can move a little bit. He could get himself out of trouble in a pinch. And I think that's going to be a big difference in this game. I think Matt Ryan is going to have a big game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It may sound wild, but I think this is a game that Matt Ryan has a very good game. And I think Jonathan Taylor has a good game as well. I think this is going to be a very technical game. But you can never count out a Mike Tomlin coached team. Because a Mike Tomlin coached football team is always ready. They're always ready. They always play the hardest. They're always very well prepared. That's why the Colts usually struggled. But it's going to change this year. Colts are beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then the Colts are going to be going down to Dallas to play the Dallas Cowboys. Remember the last time we went with the Cowboys, we beat them 23-0. Oh man, do I miss that day? That day was awesome. Beating the Cowboys 23-9. Yep, but now we're here playing them again. And Michael Parsons, Darius Leonard, Sunday night football, baby. Darius Leonard, Parsons, Matt Ryan, Dak Prescott. It's going to be a fun game. It is going to be a very good game. You you have Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be working on Trayvon Diggs. You got Alec Pierce. JT, I think, is going to have a very good game. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be an awesome game. And then you have the Cowboys having some really good wide receivers as well. See how Zeke does. But I'm going to have the Colts take another one against the Cowboys this time. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be able to run just fine. Even though Micah Parsons, tough. But I think Darius Leonard is going to knock a ball out or two of Zeke. I think he's going to make Zeke fumble at least once. Twice is asking a lot. And I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a better season than Zeke. Is going to have a better game than Zeke as well. I think this is another game where Alec Pierce comes out and has a very good game. Michael Pittman has a solid game against Trayvon Diggs, who is a very, very aggressive cornerback, and a veteran like Matt Ryan will take advantage of that. He will catch Trayvon Diggs with his hand in the cookie jar, just like that. He will take advantage of that. He will take the checks downs if he needs to. Matt Ryan is going to. I think this could be Matt Ryan's best game against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 13. Because, Trayvon, their defensive line is very good. Their corners are decent. Their safeties are decent. Their linebackers, aside of Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, there's not really much there outside of Micah Parsons, if you ask me. So, the Dallas Cowboys, the Colts are going to go to Dallas, and they're going to beat Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Dallas struggles against stronger teams. Dak Prescott seems to struggle against playoff teams. They just seem to not be able to put together a solid technical game versus an above 500 team. A very good team. And the Colts are an above 500 team, and they're going to be a playoff team. Hopefully. So, yeah, man. Yeah. So, I have the Colts taking on the Cowboys and taking the W home. Week 14, bye week, and then Week 15 against Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to tell you right now, I have us losing this one. Now, I think it's going to be a very good game. You have Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook on opposite sides of the ball. That's going to be a treat. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Adam Thielen. You have Irv Smith Jr. The offensive line is getting better. Chris Reed is on the Minnesota Vikings. Christian Darrisaw. You have Captain Kirk. Alexander Madison, even if Dalvin Cook isn't playing. Alexander Madison is still a very good player. We'd much rather have Dalvin Cook, though, because it'd be a lot more fun. Now, Minnesota's defense isn't the greatest, so this could be another game that Matt Ryan has a really good game. Defensive line is good. Cornerbacks, linebackers, you have Eric Kendricks, who is elite. Other than that, Harrison Smith is also very good, but other than that, man, this Minnesota Vikings defense is not really what it usually is, and it hasn't been for a few years, just hasn't been the same. So, I see the Colts losing this one, though. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a good game. But I think that the Minnesota Vikings, Christian Kirk, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, I think these guys are going to find a way to outscore the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to. And I think they're going to give the Colts a little taste of their own medicine with the very talented back like Dalvin Cook. So, kind of like the Titans are going to do once a year to us too. Or, you get Henry, whatever. But I see the Colts losing to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Then they come home. And they play the Los Angeles Chargers in another primetime game. This is going to be a treat. Another treat. Towards the end of the year, we have some awesome games. And it doesn't light up here. This is like the end of the awesome games, though. Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, Josh Jackson. You go to defense, they have Joey Bosa. They have Khalil Mack now. They have Derwin James, J.C. Jackson. Yeah. It's going to be a very tough game. Very tough game. But I think the Indianapolis Colts beat the Los Angeles Chargers at home on a primetime game. The Chargers really struggle to stop the run. Their run defense is not great. And when you can't stop the run, you're not going to beat the Colts. Jonathan Taylor will run all day. And if they do find a way to kind of stop the run, Matt Ryan's going to do pretty well on that defense. Chargers offense is going to be able to score points. But the Colts offense is going to be able to keep them off the field and score more points than the Indianapolis. The Colts are going to be able to score more points than the Chargers. Run the ball, keep Justin Herbert sitting on the sideline. And I see the Indianapolis Colts pulling this one out, maybe being a longer game with the running, trying to shorten, Justin Herbert's time on the field. I think this is going to be a very fun game, very fun primetime game, but I'm absolutely taking the Colts in this one and that running game just to overpower the Chargers. Week 17, you have the New York Giants. I have the Colts winning this one. I think the Colts defense is going to be just fine against Daniel Jones. Now, the Giants do have some pretty damn good weapons in Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton. I'm missing one. I know they have John Ross. He's very fast. I'm trying to think. I feel like I'm missing one. Kenny Golladay, Darius Slayton, Kadarius Toney. I feel like they have someone. They have that Robinson from Kentucky. He's kind of like Toney. So they have and they have Barkley, of course. So they have a really good wide receiver room. They have a really good skilled player cast. Quarterback is not it. The offensive line really is not it. You go and you look at the defense. The defense is okay. They have some pieces put together. They have Kayvon Thibodeau. They have Azeez Ojulari, Leonard Williams. I really like this Giants front. The defensive line, but the linebackers are questionable. The cornerbacks are questionable. The safeties are somewhat questionable. Giants defense is going to struggle against its Colts team. I think Matt Ryan is going to be able to do just fine against this Giants secondary, against the linebackers. I don't see Matt Ryan and the Colts having a problem with the New York Giants. In New York, going to try to go to that game, so I'd love to meet some of you guys there. Then, last but not least, we have the Houston Texans in the last week in Week 18, and I have the Indianapolis Colts sweeping the Houston Texans. So if the Colts already have like a spot locked in, if they already have a good seeding locked in and they can't get higher, they won't go lower, then if they sit their players, then I could see them losing this one. I could, but I'm assuming all the starters are going to be in. And if all the starters are going to be in, Colts are not going to have an issue with the Houston Texans. So that's all I got for you guys today. As I said, this was going to be a long video, and it was a pretty long video. I think it's going on like maybe 40 minutes now, but I enjoyed talking about the Colts schedule. It was a lot of fun, so that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show, where every fan is welcome. I have the Colts going 12-5. What do you have the Indianapolis Colts going in 2022? This is JDW Sports Talk Show, signing off.